Hey, it's Jeff with ID10T Garage, and we're back working on the 53 F250 Crown Vic swap for the Hot Rod Power Tour. In this week's episode, we are going to go ahead and start working on the rear end. Need to pull that sucker out and get it replaced, so let's get to it.
In my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stop.
Alright everybody, I'm back out here and I'm about to get to work on the truck some more. I'm making a damn mess. I just spent 2 days out in the pick and pull or pull and save express, whatever the hell it's called, getting this rear end out. It is a 3.27 rear end out of a 98 Crown Vic that had we'll see, turn this around, this mess I've made, but it's had 250,000 miles on the Crown Vic. That was a 98 with 327 gears in it. There are 6 other cars there and none of them had the 327 in it. So I went with this one. So far it looks clean. I opened it up and made a mess. So hopefully that's going to be good to go. I still got to do some more cleaning, so I might do that here in a little bit. But I'm about to start jacking the rear end of the truck up. I got to loosen these lugs a little bit. But I got to get ready to pull this rear end off of this one. So that's what I'm about to do. Might do some more things. It just depends on how long it takes. So here we go. Alright, as you can see, I got the one wheel off. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the caliper and the disc brake pad, set them over here. Because what I'm going to try to do is leave the brakes intact. That way, when I pull the rear end, I can just put all this back on. So I've got to get under here and remove 4 bolts to remove the drive shaft, which I'm going to try to set that down and pull the whole drive shaft out. Then I've got to remove either these 2 bolts here from the actual car or from the actual rear end, but I'll probably work on the shocks first, because you remove the shocks and it should remove the tension. And this is a Crown Vic rear end, so I have these big extensions where the actual airbags used to be on it. So I'll be removing that, and as everybody knows, springs are crazy. And you know, it's kind of funny, I'm looking over there at the other side and it looks like my spring is either different or upside down, because it's really thick on one side. So that's kind of weird to me and kind of concerning now that I look at it. So that'll be interesting to see what's going on over on that side. But I mean, there's a lot of bolts. I've got to remove the sway bar from this end link right here. I got to remove these connections which connect to the center. I guess that would be the center link on this. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this stuff and it's all rusted in. Usually you got to use breaker bars. And yet again, I just did this, took me 2 days because I had the wrong sockets and everything. So, and I don't even have a clue how I'm going to record this with the camcorder, but we'll see. We will see. So back to work. pulled this rear end out. It's a 273 gear rear end, but I had some issues with it. I'm going to show you this real quick. So this side has some wobble to it. If you look at that. We got a little bit of a issue there. So it looks like this is actually bent. So I don't think the other side was, but we'll check it out too. So definitely something wrong with this rear end. And plus, you know, those gears. I still can't believe that. You can see that. But that's all we did for the day. Got the rear end out. Now I gotta start cleaning the other rear end up. Get all the stabilizer bars off of it, and then put it in. So here come 327 gears. Later. Hey, we're back out here. And now that we got the rear end out of the truck, I'm about to start cleaning this rear end up, and then I have to get all the stabilizer bars off of it so we can put it back in. So got a couple things to work out with that. There was some crazy shit. Now, the previous owner, because it was a airbag system, used a bunch of plastic shims, I guess you would say, or spacers, to raise the rear end. So, and that's not going to work on this rear end because there's nothing that would hold these on. So with the airbag system, you had a big pole, so there's nowhere these could have really went. So I have to order a spacer, because with the way this one was set up, it would rub without that spacer. So I have a spacer on the way for when we put this one in, because this is just a standard spring rear end versus the airbag one, so not as much there. But like I said, on the cleaning. I cleaned out the gears and did a couple other things, and I pulled off all the stabilizer bars that I don't need because I got the stock ones here. So basically what I'm thinking is I'm going to put the wheels back on these things. I still gotta, you know, get some of the dust out of here, but either way, I think I'll put the wheels on here to see if that'll get me closer to this. That way I can kind of just roll this up and not have to lift as much to get it in place, to get these set up. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to need a spring compressor because I'm going to need a 1-inch spacer. I don't know if you guys saw it, or, well, I told you guys earlier, the spacers go right there. So these, what I call redneck engineering spacers, suck. Because where they would go is right there. And that's just going to easily slide off because this is not as big as what the previous piece was. So I'll get one solid piece. I'll get that 1-inch adapter, spacer, whatever you want to call it, and get there, and we'll be able to put that there to go and get what we need. So, but I think I'm going to call it a day. It wasn't a long day, but you know, I just need to get a couple things done here and there to get this rear end back in. Like I said, I'm probably gonna have to get a spring compressor to get these springs back in with these 1-inch spacers I'm gonna add in, which, you know, when I pulled this rear end out, it didn't have all these spacers. I was able to get the spring out without an issue. I had to almost disassemble this whole rear end to get the spring out. And I could probably do the same thing to get it in, but then I'm gonna have to compress it up with the jack. So I'm not sure yet. We'll see, but I kind of have to wait on the spacer. I got to put a new gasket on the rear end as well, so I'm waiting on that. I got a nice lube locker gasket on the way. So lots of stuff to do, but parts won't be here until really next week. But we can get some stuff done. Like I said, I'm going to try to start reassembling probably tomorrow. Get these stabilizers attached and go from there. Because that way we can at least have it somewhat mounted and ready to go. I just don't want to put too much stuff on there and then have to put the springs in place, because that might be a pain in the ass. I need to get these arms up in place before that, because the springs make it really hard to get them up in there. And I have to look up all the specs for these as well, so I got to get my torque specs. All right, that's it. Well, I lied to everybody. I changed my mind. I did not call it a day. I also did not use the wheel to use to get the rear end in. I used a regular jack and one jack stand, because that's all that I have free right now. But I got all the stabilizer bars attached. So here we go. Upper and lower stabilizer bar. Then we got that one and the one on the other side. Same difference. So it's basically mounted in place. I still got to get these springs in. I still got to attach your shocks, the sway bar, and just figure out what I'm going to do. Because like I said, I ordered 1-inch spacers for the springs to get it back to where it was. I could probably put the springs in the stock way, but it's just going to sit way up in here and rub on this edge. Like, it barely clears this edge as is. It might work, but then the truck's going to look funky as shit too. So I need my spacers. But it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out. I mean, I don't have a gasket on it yet, so I'm waiting on my lube locker gasket. So it'll probably still be next week, but I can at least say I've got it in place. So the hard part is done. And then I can figure out what I'm going to do with these springs. I'd love to say they'll just go in place, and then I can jack it up a little bit and attach the shocks, but I highly doubt that's going to be the case with the 1-inch spacers. On the last one, I could just pull them out like this. Basically, I just used a pry bar and they came right out. So we will see, but yeah, it's definitely a day now. So I gotta go look up all my torque specs and see what I need to do with all these. So, but yeah, the rear end is partially in. Woo woo! Hey, thanks everybody for tuning into this week's episode. We got a lot done. We got the rear end removed and we got a new one put in place, but we still have a lot to do to it. I got to get my new seal and get all new gear oil in it. We got to get the springs in place, torque spec all the bolts. So it's still a lot to continue to do. So we'll finish this up next week, and hopefully we'll get to take it for a ride, maybe do some burnouts. We'll see. It's a bigger gear with a 327 in the rear, so it should give it a lot more fun. So I'll have to update my tune that's on the truck, but we're good to go. So like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next week.
In my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping out.